What's up, guys? Welcome to the YK-11 Deep Dive Addendum discussion live stream video, where we're going to discuss and review and give some additional explanation on the YK-11 Deep Dive, go through the comments that were made underneath the video. I think there were 133 comments, so stay tuned for a one and a half hour, maybe 2 hour live stream. But before we get started, we got to get the disclaimer out of the way in 3, 2, 1. Right, Vigorous Steve here. Let's get started with the live stream and do a little bit of additional explanation on the YK-11 deep dive, because it raised a lot of questions. I might have overlooked a couple things, so this is the perfect time to provide additional information. First things first, if you notice that my chest is a little bit pudgy, that's not the YK-11, even though I did focus on mostly chest gains when I was running YK-11, 2 chest workouts per week. This is from my gynecomastia surgery. So underneath here, I'm wearing a garment with some compression padding, just to make sure that the gynecomastia surgery is a success, right? Keep the inflammation down, make sure that all of the skin retracts, because, well, doing liposuction and having gynecomastia removed that's literally this big, well, I'll make a separate video about that. Brutal. Yeah, a lot of hematomas and the bruising and that kind of stuff. So, but I'll show you in the gynecomastia deep dive or gynecomastia recovery protocol video, which I'll drop sometime next week or the week after. So if you're wondering what all this is, that's literally what's going on. Okay, let me share my screen in the meantime. Share screen, entire screen, share. All right. Make that nice and pretty. Not this one, this one. Okay, let's get started with the comments, guys. So here you see, for the guys that don't know, I put all of the citations down below in the pinned comments. So I have dose cal, where I used, which I used for the animal dose to the human equivalent dose extrapolation, which you guys saw was absolutely astronomically high dosages. Then all of the citations which I used for the video. These two, the first two, are not related to YK-11, but those are usually the pictures that are being used when they would say that, well, if you have amazingly high Follastatin levels, then your mice or your mouse is going to look like this. But that's not based on YK-11. That's based on myostatin null mice, or some sort of gene mutation where Follistatin secretion is a little bit higher than normal. So these from 2011 are the actual studies. A lot of them are from a Japanese person, Kano et al. And here another one, right? And then the detection times on there. So that's not very interesting. Obviously, all of you guys already read the studies. Fingers crossed that actually happened. So let's go through the comments. Joshua Given Perry says, "You look a lot better. It's like your traps grew instead of your big neck you had when you started the channel. I'm almost wondering if your head is shrinking." Well, based on my puffy face right now, or reintroducing the growth hormone, I would say that that's definitely not the case, but I'll take that compliment. The work you put into your content is top tier. Much appreciated. All right, already loved. And here's the first anecdotal report from YK-11. So BKB Jeza says, "Cheers for the deep dive, Steve. The 3 to 4 weeks I've been trialing 20 milligrams YK-11 oral daily, 10 milligrams sublingually in the morning and evening, a base cycle of 250 milligrams testosterone enanthate, 200 milligrams masteron enanthate. Masteron enanthate to replace the AI was given because I aromatize heavily. Starting DEXA body fat scan was 8%, let's say, up 7% fasted. Visually, there's minimal change to body composition, slightly less glutamine quads, mixation, definition, huge increase in fullness, some increase in dryness. So it looks like he got a little bit more puffy, but at least also a little bit drier. Increase in vascularity too, and already a bit of signs again in some specific targeting weaker body parts. Having used Superdrol myself before in both deficit and mass phases, this is all Superdrol could be and more, without nearly as much toxicity whatsoever." Yeah, so that's exactly the same point I made. I feel that YK-11, based on this 7-week short stint experience that I had with it, could be a suitable replacement for Superdrol, because you get similar pumps, similar fullness, similar dryness, overall similar muscularity and strength gains, without feeling like a toxic mess. Scale weight slowly progressing upwards despite no change to nutrition and other anabolics since the start. Great fullness, some dryness, and increased vascularity. start coming in, but YK-11 is a bit slower than Superdrol. Took 1 week for me. Lift's progressing insanely well, but joints are starting to get tiny iffy. Yeah, so that's what most people start to report, right? That the joints do start to get a little bit dry and a little bit sore and a little bit tender the longer you use it. And I agree with this anabolic or this anecdotal report that it takes a little bit longer for these effects to build up. So maybe YK-11 itself is not a very potent anabolic. I mean, it had not 100% transcriptional activity compared to dihydrotestosterone testosterone when binding to the androgen receptors. It's a little bit technical. It's all mentioned in the scientific literature. But I think that the benefits of YK-11 actually come from the increase in follistatin levels. So here's people thanking for the write-up. Let's move over to another anecdotal report. Sandra Andrachik. Okay, so maybe this is a female. Let's see. I've been using the injectable version, and you definitely feel it. It gave me a hardened feel. 20 milligrams a day with 300 milligrams testosterone a week. 100 milligrams Tresolone a week, 150 primo per week. My estradiol was 57 before the cycle, and 5 weeks later was 11 on the ultrasensitive test. So that's liquid chromatography, tandem mass spectrometry. This is probably just a dude, not a girl. Maybe the username is a little bit misleading. Well, it's the internet after all, right? Misleading pictures and usernames, it's a common occurrence. Not sure if it was the Primo or the YK-11. I'm cruising on 300 milligrams of testosterone right now. I'm due for bloods test after. Maybe we'll add in the YK-11 to get bloods done after 4 weeks. Very interesting in your results. Cool video. So this is another anecdotal report saying that YK-11, for sure primobolan, might act as a aromatase inhibitor. Now, structurally, I don't see anything there that could insinuate that it can inhibit the aromatase enzyme and then prevent the conversion of testosterone, nandrolone, tresolone into estradiol or methyl estradiol, right? 7-alpha methyl estradiol from tresolone to 7-alpha methyl estradiol. But yeah, anecdotally, you see that is quite a common occurrence. And then this late Nate was almost in a similar protocol. 200 milligrams a test, 150 primo, 140 milligrams trenbolone acetate per week, and 30 milligrams YK-11 every day. No AI at all, and no nipple sensitivity, so I guess that's good. No bloat from the Tresolone, which everybody was raving about how Tresolone is super wet and estrogen gyno bomb. Yeah, so that's also what I didn't experience, right? My entire goal was to grow the gynecomastia tissue, and then the YK-11 on top of 500 tests, 500 nandrolone, and 150 milligrams trenbolone or Tresolone acetate. Minimal estradiol symptoms. Yeah, and my gyno grew a little bit, but my estradiol levels were only 100 picograms per milliliter, 110, which is not as high as I expected to be. And right now they're way higher after discontinuing the nandrolone, the Tresolone, and the YK-11 and the Anecdotal. Let's see. Feeling great, good pumps, great moods. I don't aromatize much now, but you have me worried I might crash my estradiol. Okay, so this guy should do some blood work. Late Nate. Last cycle was entered the test, 500 primo, my estradiol was 32. Okay, yeah, so you're a low aromatizer. Your test to primobolan ratio is not 1-to-1. You have more tests than primo, and your estradiol levels are, let's say, middle of the reference range. Okay, let's continue. Toes1 says, love how Uncle Steve is slowly becoming more and more accepting of SARMs. First, MK677, not a SARM. Now YK-11. Honestly, when you read the scientific evidence, there's not even an indication that it's a selective androgen receptor modulator because it hasn't really been investigated in that sense. There was no Hirschberger bioassay, which you would otherwise expect for a SARM classification like you see with LGD or Osterine. Maybe I should have included this in the deep dive, but it was already 30 minutes, right? And you want to keep time efficient. That's why I'm mentioning it here. So when you go through the scientific evidence, there's very little indication that YK-11 is actually a SARM, even though there might be less transcriptional activity compared to dihydrotestosterone. Testosterone. You don't really see a traditional Hirschberger bioassay comparing YK-11 to dihydrotestosterone or maybe testosterone or methyl testosterone as another reference standard. Right? They certainly didn't use the standardized Hirschberger bioassay, which you later see in the trenbolone Hirschberger bioassays, of which there are many. Let's see. Can't wait to see Steve with broccoli hair and dangling cross earrings. Don't worry, that will never happen, bro. And then Zach Linder said both of those compounds are listed are not SARMs. You know, I agree. I would say that YK-11 is probably the least SARM-like out of all of the SARMs, and it's probably because it's a steroidal compound, right? I mean, of course, if you take like 0.1 milligram or 0.5 milligram or 1 milligram or 3 milligrams of YK-11, it probably interacts with the androgen receptors and nothing else. But at 30 milligrams daily, especially if you take that sublingually to increase the bioavailability potentially, I'm sure there's some spillover somewhere. And if it was truly a SARM, why do you get dry joints, right? Why do you get dry subcutaneous adipose tissue, right? I mean, if it only would work on the androgen receptors of skeletal muscle, it would be selective and you would get no spillover effect to side effects like dry joints or the drying out and the hardening of the skin, basically the tissue underneath. And you would also not see such a tremendous effect on your lipids, your sexual binding globulin, etc. All right, follow the algorithm. I love Anecdotal. I'm starting Superdrol for the first time this month. And now I'm looking forward to giving YK-11 a go. Okay, so make sure that you take adequate time off in between Anecdotal, Superdrol, and YK-11. Even though YK-11 is probably the least deleterious on your liver enzymes and your lipids, you still have a testosterone base. And if you switch from one oral to the next, it's not going to look pretty. We're talking about your blood work. Your physique might still look good, but we want to have a good physique and a good blood work to match. All right, let's see if in the chat if everything is going well so far, just to make sure that nothing is going wrong with the audio. All right, it seems nobody's complaining, so I guess we can continue. Let's see. Excessive edema can cause joint pain as well. Nandrolone, testosterone, testosterone, and Andrologia is a recipe for fluid retention in the carpal joint and an irritating median nerve. Same thing can manifest during pregnancy edema. Yeah, so I had none of that. Luckily, I have none of that. But then again, my serum estradiol levels were not that high. And of course, I control my electrolyte intake. I always make sure that my electrolyte intake only deviates by 10% from day to day. So, right, even if you're on 500 tests, 500 Nandrolone, 150 Testosterone, 200 Androl, and then a little bit of YK-11 sprinkled on top, plus growth hormone and IGF-1 and everything else, right? As long as your water intake is consistent and your electrolyte intake is consistent, and maybe taking telmisartan, which also has a modulating effect of the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, and then occasional use of empagliflozin over the weekend to help with sodium excretion and glucose excretion. In that case, I had zero carpal tunnel and zero edema, besides a slight amount of edema in my ankles, which, well, on a cycle like this is to be expected. Great video. Did you can the Nandrolone video? No, I didn't can it. It's still on the to-do list. But first, you guys wanted me to finish the methylene blue deep dive. And then after that, this is ribulizin deep dive. And then the Nandrolone deep dive. So yeah, stay tuned. Things take time, but when it's good, it's good. Thanks, Steve. Been waiting for this. No one's opinion is more valuable than yours. Don't forget to love that one. Much appreciated. Let's see. I know deep dives are hard to create because of the research and all the other stuff, but they really give users a valuable knowledge forever here on YouTube. Yeah, I think it's important to do deep dives on all of these compounds because Derek Moore Dates did a lot of deep dives on all of these SARMs, and that kind of inspired me to do deep dives on everything else. Now, I'm not going to do deep dives on Austrian, LGD, etc., but YK-11 sparked my interest for a very long time. I just didn't get around to use it yet. Shinken says, with a price of 50 to 65 euros per 10 milligrams liquid in Europe, it will get costly quickly. But thank you, Steve, for willing to do the research for us. I haven't seen any source charging that much. I mean, 10 milligrams YK-11 shouldn't cost you more than $1, $1.50. So, well, you know where the sources are. Maybe you start shopping there. When you take the kitchen sink, you're bound to gain from something. Yeah, that's very true, and that's the point that I also made in the video. I mean, how much of my gains were 100% accredited to the YK-11 I was taking, or the 500 test and the 500 Nandrolone and the 150 Testosterone and the 200 Anadrol and the 10 to 20 IU's growth hormone and the 1 milligram Increlex. That remains to be debated, but I will say that the unique feeling that I got from YK-11, I have not experienced ever before. Now, I think there was a comment somewhere earlier about epigethatin, which is also known to increase follistatin levels and reduce myostatin levels. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I've never used epigethatin myself, but right, that person said that a unique feeling might be very similar to YK-11 or the Follastatin 344 that I injected in the past. Right after the YK-11 experiment was concluded. So yeah, how much of these gains actually came from YK-11? We're still not 100% sure, right? Will everybody else get phenomenal gains like this? And keep in mind, I was eating like 4,500, 5,000 calories every single day. And then you have muscle memory to work with because I used to be 120 kilos in the past. And then I get up to 120 kilos. Right? So it's a little bit hard to say. I will say that my quads, I think, ended up being the biggest they ever were. All things considering, judging by my progress pictures in the past. And my chest made a good amount of improvements, but I think my chest used to be bigger in the past, again, when I was 120 kilos. So I felt that the 120 kilos had a little bit more favorable distribution to the lower body. Again, I'll have to compare progress pictures to really see what was going on. And we're talking about, well, 5 to 6 years in between. So next time I'll run YK-11, I'll just do a testosterone base, 500 test, like what I'm on now. That seems to be good enough for me to maintain my size. I'm 110 kilos now, and I don't expect myself to get any lighter like this unless I start dieting aggressively. So I'll do 500 tests, then 30 milligrams YK-11 per day sublingually for 4 weeks or 1 month. Nice on the calendar, then switch to injectable YK-11. And if my joints are not too tremendously trashed by the end of it, I'll throw in some Follastatin 344 and compare. And of course, at the start of the testosterone and oral YK-11 taken sublingually, we'll do some blood work. Then afterwards, before I switch to injectable, then after the injections, the injectable YK-11, I'll do some blood work as well, and then switch to Follastatin 344. Obviously, my follicle-stimulating hormone levels will be completely bottomed out. For the guys that don't know, Follastatin was named Follastatin because it acts as a statin for follicle-stimulating hormone, because injecting Follastatin, whether that's 244, 315, 344, or the other isoenzymes, it all brings follicle-stimulating hormone levels down to basically zero. So it's basically the antagonist to myostatin. I have a deep dive on that. You should definitely watch it. So yeah, a fair point made by No Booty Boy. When you throw the kitchen sink at it, you're bound to gain from something. So we'll do a follow-up experiment, comparing everything, doing before, during, and after blood work, and then I'll draw my final conclusions. Let's see, wooden dummy boxing. Thank you, Steve. Good luck with the surgery. Yes, that took place 2 days ago, and well, it feels a little bit numb, a little bit violated, but so far so good. Looking forward to the follow-up. Brian Cohen, I hope you're in the chat right now. Let's see, another anecdotal report from AJC Sons Forge, if I interpret that username correctly. I'm not a SARM goblin, but I ran LGD 3033 at 20 milligrams for 10 weeks, way back in like 2018, before I knew just what it was. I went from 190 pounds to 205 pounds. Okay, that's 15-pound gain. That's serious shit. High intensity, 3 on, 1 off rotation training, eating 5,500 calories. Nice work. I know that's a lot of eating and chewing and getting jaw pumps. That many calories. I will say super pumps. Training was crazy, mentally an animal, but plan to run this PCT for 6 weeks. Okay, so is there anything about YK-11 here? Or we're talking about LGD? Or he's talking about LGD. Okay, then we're going to skip it because this is a YK-11 deep dive. Joel Hansen, the man with the biggest appetite. Let's go. Well, we're well on our way. Lamin Belusha. Enjoyed it. Another great deep dive of an interesting compound. Looking forward for your experiment to see if it's worth running for my summer stack or not. Well, by the time that video comes out, the summer might already be over. So do some additional research and feel free to experiment a little bit yourself, because that follow-up deep dive might drop too late. Timo van Wermeskerken. Amazing video as always, Coach Steve. Thank you for the work that you do. My pleasure. When you first mentioned YK, it ended up being sold out all over Australia. Oh no. It's the influencer curse, right? So first you talk about methylene blue, it sells out. And then you talk about SLUPP332, and then it sells out. And then me and Chase were talking about retreatide, and it sells out, right? So yeah, it's not like I wanted to sell out, but as soon as give something my blessing, apparently it drives sales. So I really hope that you guys use my discount code and not somebody else's, because then, well, all of that return of investment, doing the research and the self-experimentation of the blood work, which is not free, I can get some money back, basically. Let's see, JGJ505. I've been waiting for this one for a while. Okay, sorry it took so long, but well, I needed to go on holiday too. Jake, sweet. Been waiting for this one. Great work. Biggest fan here. Vigorous crew. Parabolic says, I've been singing its praises for 2 years and everybody made fun of me. Oh, well, again, 112 pounds lean in 2.5 years, and they didn't. Their loss. Okay, so I hope you didn't run 30 milligrams YK-11 for 2.5 years straight. But yeah, everybody made phenomenal gains in the beginning, and then at one point it will taper off. So 112 pounds in 2.5 years is great, and I'm sure MK or YK-11 contributed to that. But you probably took something else as well. Let's see, is it hair safe? No, it's not hair safe. I mentioned that in the video. Yes, it is. There is presenting new information here, and its possibility of inhibiting the 5-alpha reductase 2 enzymes. So I think that is this study. Yeah, so this study, from gains to gaps, how selective androgen receptor modulator YK-11 impact hippocampal function in silico, in vivo and ex vivo perspective. So unfortunately, this full publication is not available. If you type this in on Science Hub, then you don't get anything. So basically what I did is I got that information from the highlights. YK-11 competes at the inhibitory domain of the 5-alpha reductase to isoform. And if we look that up a little bit, maybe we can look at this picture. Not exactly high res. Okay, YK-11 increases cytokines. Good, it's here. Oh. Like this. Binds to the 5AR, and here the 5-alpha reductase. Well, so that's not very forthcoming. Let's see if there's anything else in this study. Do the good old search. Well, maybe do it like this. Yes. Okay, so I can't really find that here. We demonstrated YK-11 remarkable brain permeability with molecular docking analysis, revealing YK-11 inhibitory effects of the 5-alpha reductase type 2 isoenzymes, suggesting high cell bioavailability. Okay, is there anything else that they discuss? They said it might be based on a computer model. Again, I can't read this entire study because it's not available. Mighty anabolic potential. Well, what I will do for sure is test my diet testosterone levels before and after, and then we'll see. We'll see how much of a difference it makes, right, when I run that experiment. Now, 500 test, hopefully my DHT levels will not be undetectably high because my testosterone levels were undetectably high. So I'll have to make sure that that range, the lab goes high enough. And otherwise, I'll have to drop the testosterone to, let's say, 200, 250 milligrams per week, which is detectable on blood work. And then hopefully the DHT changes can be detectable also because, well, what's the point if I get blood work results back and DHT is undetectably high the first time, and I add in the YK-11, and then a month later, it's still undetectably high, right? I mean, then we don't really know what's going on. Okay, so here's some discussion between Parabolic and a couple other guys. Man, the quality of info from you, Steve, is unmatchable. Yeah, it's you got to set yourself apart from the rest by doing the work. Joseph Rivera, good Lord Steve, that frontal bicep at the beginning scared me. Gonna need a wider camera soon. Yeah, it's not as big as it used to be, but we're still trying to, I shouldn't really raise my arm. I just had surgery, but we're still trying to stay in the game. Commenting for the algorithm, very interesting compound. Might have to source this again. You know where to find the sources, the high quality sources. That is, price of YK-11 skyrocketing soon. Yeah, again, I'm not doing it on purpose, but it might happen. So get yours before demand increases. Hey Steve, why don't you do a Follastatin and myostatin test before and after oral YK-11? Hey, you point me in the direction where you can do that in Thailand, and I'll gladly do it. But I asked here at the clinic, and they don't have those tests available. So I'm willing to do it before and after, 100%, but I have no idea where to test it. And it will have to go by serum, not by biopsy. No biopsies, please. I just underwent major surgery. That's enough biopsy for the next decade. Let's see. Oh, somebody wants to work with me as a client. I don't accept clients unless it's for the 10-hour consultation package. So you can find all the details on my website. Let's see. Jeff Portnoy. Before this video, researching YK-11 on YouTube, you already know RR. Yeah. Well, there's levels to this educational shit. So let's see. Mentioned you need to lower your test dosages with YK-11 because it beats out tests to the androgen receptor. Well, there's been no established receptor affinity, and while that might be the case with Ostrine, right? When I ran a TRT dose of testosterone, well, TRT for bodybuilders, 250 milligrams per week, and then I added in the Ostrine, I got weaker. And that's why I suspected that Ostrine was competing for the receptors. Now, again, maybe it's because the testosterone already produced the maximum amount of androgen receptors. Again, steroids increase androgen receptors, right, over time. And that seems to peak out at week 6 or 8. And then you kind of need to increase the dose to get an increase in androgen receptors again. If Ostrine doesn't give that effect, then the slight increase in androgen receptors that you get from testosterone, and then the Ostrine is going to bind to that, then you get less of an effect from the testosterone itself. And again, the affinity isn't, as far as I know, for Ostrine or YK-11, I couldn't find it in the scientific evidence, is not established when compared to that of testosterone or testosterone to see if it has higher affinity. So I don't agree by lowering your test dosages at all. I don't think that YK-11 itself really potentiates that much anabolism, because again, when you look into the study here, this first one, so this is from the abstract. Let me see, is this big enough? You guys can read this, right? Okay, so YK-11 was found to be a partial agonist of the androgen receptor in an androgen responsive element or luciferase reporter assay. YK-11 accelerates nuclear translocation of the androgen receptor. Furthermore, YK-11 does not induce amino carboxyl terminal NC interaction and prevents 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone mediated NC interaction. Okay, so there might be that YK-11 has higher affinity for the androgen receptor than dihydrotestosterone, if that's what the study did. Thus, YK-11 activates androgen receptors without causing NC interaction, which may in turn be responsible for the partially agonistic nature of YK-11 observed in the R-luciferase transporter system. YK-11 acts as a gene-selective agonist of the androgen receptor in these cells that they use. The effects of YK-11 on gene expression relative to that of androgen agonists varies depending on the gene context. So some genes are more transcribed than other genes. And what is that? This is literally the only androgen receptor gene transcription assay that they did. So our results suggest that YK-11 might act as a selective androgen receptor modulator. And then after that, they, oh, sorry about that. Let's see, these are the pictures. Then here, they just take that as fact. Yeah, YK-11 is a selective androgen receptor modulator. Next one. We previously reported that YK-11 is a novel selective androgen receptor modulator. So, again, I would like to see further studies. but I don't think that those are ever going to take place. So yeah, it could very well be the case, right? That YK-11 beats out diet testosterone for the androgen receptor, but in practical applications, I don't see that was happening. I got all of the results from 500 tests, 500 Nandrolone, 150 Testosterone, and 200 Anecdotal. And by no way, shape, or form did I feel that YK-11 was competing for the receptor sites. It just slowly increased my Follastatin levels to the point I felt that the cap on muscle growth was removed. Let's see. Okay. I ran 2 months of oral, 30 milligrams from a reputable tested source and was all right. Ran 2 months from 20 milligrams injectable from the same source, both times on testosterone base of 200 milligrams per week and same diet. Injectable is a whole other animal. Legit felt like it was twice as strong and more. Even weak body parts, I couldn't get a bulge. Bulge. Couldn't get to budge grew. Okay. So you made some progress switching from oral YK-11 to injectable YK-11. Now currently 3 weeks off, 300 tests, 150 Testosterone, 30 milligrams injectable YK-11, 150 milligrams Primo per week. Is it the same? Oh, late Nate. Is that the same cycle as earlier? Sounds like it. No, yeah, even though Testosterone acetate, no joint pain, insane fullness and pumps, great mood, very low water retention, no nipple sensitivity from Testosterone, nothing. I feel that, as I've read in certain places, YK-11 lowers E2. Yeah, so that's we're going to do some blood work and prove if that's the case, because, well, with Primobolan, with me, that's definitely the case. With, let's see, Mastrone, that's definitely the case. With Proviron, that's definitely the case. And I suspect that's also the case with YK-11 based on the anecdotal reports and my previous blood work. This is what I was waiting for. Comment for the anabolic algorithm. Great work. Just looked, and Follistatin 3 for 4 in the UK is $85 a shot for 1 milligram daily. Yeah, it's very expensive. So when I run that experiment with Follistatin 3 for 4, it will be a week or two. Luckily, I don't have to pay as much as most people because, well, I know a guy. But yeah, I'll compare oral YK-11 to injectable YK-11, and then Follistatin 3 for 4, and then maybe throw in the epicatechin afterwards and see what happens. Look crazy good, bro. Thank you very much. Coaching is back. Very interesting. Steve brought the energy in this video. Yeah, thank God for nootropics. Thank God for bromantane. Maybe you should compare YK-11 and Follistatin feeling to epicatechin. So yeah, this is a very valid point. Right, you can see here in the no, not this one, the myostatin deep dive, is that epicatechin reduces myostatin levels and increases Follistatin levels in humans and animal models. And I think there's a citation for that somewhere down there. Is there? My God, why do I have to scroll so much? Yeah, so it's probably in the citations here. Man, this video has a lot of citations. It's probably somewhere in there. So we'll review this a little bit later on, but it's a fair point. Maybe what I can do, and if you guys agree, let me know. Maybe I'll do testosterone only for 4 weeks, then run epicatechin for 4 weeks, then run YK-11 oral 4 weeks, then injectable 4 weeks, and then, well, 1 or 2 weeks of Follistatin 344. Because, well, that's the only experiment that I really have pending next year. Right? Everything else will just kind of be the same. I don't really care about getting any bigger. 120 kilos, I was a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest. And I'll probably end up around 110, 105 kilos because I tend to start cutting again once I'm recovered. So let me know in the chat and down below in the comment section what you feel about this protocol, right? 4 weeks epicatechin, 4 weeks oral YK-11, then 4 weeks injectable YK-11, and then, well, 2 weeks of injectable Follistatin, and then a blood work before, during, and after. I think that's right to kind of seal the deal on this whole Follistatin talk. Maybe the golden goose or the Triforce, or was it the holy grail of bodybuilding, right? I mean, we already discussed Increlex at length, right? I think the cat is out of the bag now, so I might as well go into this Follistatin thing and compare everything under the sun to each other with blood work before, during, and after. I think there will be one hell of an experiment this year. So let me know what you feel about that. Andrew Peters, Steve, truly the god of the gym bros. Yeah, I do my part, man. Ultimo Bean, the tightness in the lower back on YK-11 just destroyed me. I had to lower the dose. I did not, well, I had a little bit of lower back tightness, but I attribute that to the Anecdotal. Again, my cocktail was quite extensive. I had sometimes terrible lower back pumps, but that's only in the gym doing legs, crazy high volume, crazy high weights. Um, all right. And yeah, maybe that also contributes. Vern Chrysler says, my lab rat indicated RADS, LGD, and S23 seems to work pretty well, but not sure of how YK works better. As Steve noted, there's no randomized human trials on these compounds. We can only run anecdotal reports or idiosyncratic variations. Yeah, sometimes that's the best you got to work with. But even YK-11 has more studies behind it than dihydroboldenone. And a lot of people love dihydroboldenone as well. This is a thought for somebody who has played around with various compounds, healthy, consistent, and disciplined. I would like you to message me to discuss an experiment model you could post later. Well, I can message you on Instagram or on YouTube, so you're going to have to email me. What if fitness? Daddy Steve isn't on the gain trains, he is the gain trains. I'm gonna like that. I love that comment. Yeah, he is the gain trains. No, John, you're the demons. If you know that reference, let me know in the chat. Jackson, crazy. Thank you for endless dedication to helping the bodybuilding community. The Iron Gods will look down with a smile. I fucking hope so. I put in a lot of work on this shit. Caleb, thank you, Steve. Injectable definitely makes my joint starts achy pretty quick, but maybe with Nandrolone it won't. So yes, with Nandrolone, unfortunately, I still got achy joints, but it took about 6 weeks, I would say, to be really noticeable and to the point I felt like a little bit compromised during the workout. But you know, I train with low how do you say this? I mean, an explosive positive, but not too explosive because the weight is so heavy. And then a very slow negative, right? 3 to 4 seconds, and 1 to or half a second to 2 seconds in the hole. And so I'm less bouncy than I was before. So I think now that my workouts are a lot more controlled, and again, growth hormone, Nandrolone, and all that stuff in the picture, I think the joint achiness and stiffness and the compromised connective tissue wasn't really noticeable or compromising, but it was a little bit noticeable. JC, people have said they have experimented or have experienced increased pumps from injectable Follastatin. Did you notice an increase after either YK-11 or Follastatin 344? Yes, absolutely. The pumps were insane. But again, you know, my nutrition is on point. I take a hefty pre-workout cocktail consisting of injectable carnitine and sodium and fuck all this shit. So how much I can really say that it's YK-11? I won't say that the pump was super crazy on YK-11, but on that single time that I took Follistatin 344, man, I was on the floor, dude. That was insane. Again, I took 500 micrograms intramuscularly bilaterally, so that's 1 milligram in total, into the upper quad, and on the bilaterally on the side quad, I took what was it, 1 milligram Increlex per side. So I'm sure that also contributes. And then again, with the hefty pre-workout cocktail, that workout was intense. I couldn't walk after that. So I can't imagine doing that 2 weeks in a row, right? Two leg workouts like that per week, and then going through that hellhole. But you know, for the sake of the community, I'm willing to experiment with it. But yeah, the pumps were good, but I've had better pumps in the past. Steve's getting jacked. Parabolic also says it also appears to have a very strong effect on lowering SHBG levels. Yeah, my SHBG was, man, where was it on the blood work? I don't have it in front of me. I should be able to pull, well, I think I was single digits when I came off. Was my SHBG 6? Man, now I have to check. Okay, let's go through the process of checking that. Videos. Where is it? Wider approved doping stack? No, this one, right? What a face. Uh, where is it? Sex hormones. Okay. Scroll up a little bit. Is it here? No, not yet. Doing live. Okay, so my SHBG over the course of a month, and again, during the first blood work on October 26th, I was already on YK-11. It went from 20.5 to 7.9. So that's quite a steep reduction. Yeah, and the cycle was pretty much the same. So, and again, you see here that my testosterone was undetectably high because I already started the new cycle of 500 tests, I believe, but it takes a little bit of time to build up. So yeah, my SHBG was definitely single digits. More than using that testosterone-based injectable. Oh man, brutal. Let's see, Fit Freak Dave, I'm eager to try it. However, this compound seems to be more expensive than Primo and Anavar, but still curious. I did not do a cost analysis compared to Primo and Anavar, but I don't know, from the sources that I have, it's YK-11 is not that expensive, man. Seems to be quite affordable. Ciao Bella says, used this occasionally for the last 3 years. I wonder if it'll be sold out now. It wouldn't surprise me. Octavian, finally, Sarm Goblins, here I come. Yeah. And this was a good point by Coach JP. Hey, Steve, since it is touted to being as being the full name of YK-11, well, you have this chemical name. I recognize 19-nor pregna and carboxylic acid methyl ester. I recognize this, but the rest looks like gibberish to me. Does that mean we can classify it as a 19-nor? So this I wanted to address a little bit further. 19-nor means at the 19th position, there's a change compared to testosterone. So here you can see all the numbering based on the steroidal-like molecule. So you see here it starts with 1, then it goes counterclockwise to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it switches here clockwise. So it's a little bit weird on how they number this, but here is the 19th position. So remember this position in this molecule that looks like something that is testosterone or cholesterol or TUDCA or equipoise. You guys get the idea. It's all based on this molecular structure. So here's the 19th position. Keep your eye on that. This is testosterone. So this is the 19th position. There's no hydrogen atom present. But when you go into Nandrolone, which is just one molecule different, you see that on the 19th position, there's a hydrogen atom. And we call that 19-nor. So this is 19-nor testosterone, aka Nandrolone. And when we look at YK-11, you see that there's also a hydrogen atom at the 19th position. That's why it's called 19-nor pregna. Now, and then you have this huge squiggly thingy here where the ester would be. And this apparently increases its effects on follistatin secretion because when you compare everything else, it's literally Nandrolone. See? Exactly the same until this point. I'm not sure if this is a ring structure, but again, the chemical engineers among us, I'm sure we can, you guys can clarify that in the comment section. Now, here you see that closely at the 19th position, there's a hydrogen atom. But when you go to the original paper, it's not there in this picture. On the 19th position, you see there's no hydrogen atom. I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse, by the way. I really hope you guys can see my mouse. So here they say in the text, 19-nor pregna, but on the 19th position, there's no hydrogen atom. Right? Just like this structure, or this structure is not there. So again, this study is from 2011. Maybe they made a mistake. At least in the chemical name, they say 19-nor pregna, but the image is incomplete, I would say. Next one. Was the Follastatin and YK-11 taken daily? So the YK-11 was taken daily, but the Follastatin was only taken once. Just to see if it has a comparable effect. And the Follastatin pumps and the insane muscle tightness and fullness and just violation that I experienced was a lot of fun. But I could definitely understand why Follistatin 344 is so expensive when I compare that to the effects of YK-11 compounding after 7 weeks. Buying stock in AA now, yeah. Well, there's multiple sources for it, but you could always use a count at one of those. Let's see, could 100 to 200 milligrams DECA negate the iffy joints from YK-11? Well, somebody said that he was running DECA and still got joint pain. So I would say that 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams of DECA is not sufficient to mitigate the joint pain. And even I was running joints of steel formula from MA. So, you know, it's, yeah, I think that the joint pain is just a given. It's only a matter of time, no matter what you do. I think this is very unrelated. Injectable form less oxidative. I wasn't aware that the oral version was oxidative. So, but all anabolic androgenic steroids can increase oxidative stress, whether you take them orally or injectable or sublingually or topically. Right? Steroids increase oxidative stress. That's why we take methylene blue, injectable glutathione, taurine, selenium, etc., etc., etc. And keep our estrogen high, because estrogen can also act as an antioxidant in the endothelial tissue. Let's see. Take note on this if you buy raw powders to brew. Okay, so we'll have to use that timestamp. I feel like we should be paying for this type of knowledge. No, just hit the like button, man. It's enough. I think this knowledge should be free. You guys just use my discount code, so I get a kickback. And you guys use my discount codes more than enough, trust me. But it can always be more, right? You can place bigger orders. That helps. Let's see. Do you need to access the other SARMs mentioned? What? No, I don't need access to the other SARMs. I'm an animal, Steve. Okay, great. You can be my spirit animal. I took up to 25 milligrams per day injectable YK-11 and felt like Rambo. Very anabolic, masculine, animalistic feel to it. Sounds like trenbolone, but I'll take your word for it. Hope you use the testosterone base. Used 20 milligrams Superdrol 10 weeks. Blood work looks normal, but HDL was low. My liver enzymes normal, kidney normal. 10 weeks on Superdrol 20 milligrams daily and everything was normal? I find that hard to believe. YK-11 plus HCG. Sounds like you want to reinvent the wheel, buddy. Steve's traps have shoulders. Yeah, it's all that YK-11. It's straight through the traps. YK-11 is expensive. Dude, all good things are expensive. Especially BJ's, very expensive. I prefer the injectable YK. Okay, oral YK made my stomach feel kind of gross. All right, I didn't experience that at all. But again, I took it sublingually. Let's see if there's anything else. You got bigger, hard frontal bicep for the algo boost. And I gotta make sure I like all these guys. You look fucking huge. All right. Steve done a hair flandy stack for anabolic gains. Nope. I have no idea. I have a bottle of injectable from MA Research. Has anybody used that before? 60 milligrams per milliliter. We'll try half a milliliter before workouts and see what happens. Yeah, so that's what I'll be using for the experiment. I'll let you know in a couple months. Is there an injectable YK-11 now? I would imagine the bioavailability would be much improved. Yes, you would suspect that. But then again, sublingual administration is basically the same as injecting. It goes straight into the bloodstream. You're preventing hepatic breakdown or enzymatic breakdown in the intestinal tract. So that's just probably why I got a great response. I mean, I didn't see anything in the anecdotal reports that people would take YK-11 sublingually. I mean, it's a bit annoying. You have those 10 milligram capsules, and they have to open that up and split that apart into 15 milligram servings. Take 15 milligrams sublingually, which is really like a teaspoon of powder, and then you have to kind of swirl that around and absorb it, and then do that again in the evening. It's not very enjoyable, but well, for the community, right? For science, have to do that. Okay, and that's about it. So, what else did I want to discuss? Let's go through a couple of questions here in the chat. Man, it's already been 50 minutes. Yeah, I know, free baby. Hit that thumbs up button. Yeah. Let's heal up quickly. Thank you so much. I like that term. Anabolic report. Going to steal that, but you will get a citation. Hey, as long as you put a citation, I'm happy with it. Right, wherever you got it from, it's give credit to the guy that came up with the idea, which is very difficult in the bodybuilding space. I mean, I was listening to Fouad Abiad's podcast and like, oh my God, if only these guys knew. Ben, And inform these guys. Ben Chow, inform these guys. Where's the shit all coming from? I would take it every day because, again, I suspect that YK-11 itself doesn't have much anabolic properties. It mostly comes from a spillover effect and increasing follistatin levels. That's why in the beginning you don't really get phenomenal results, but it seems to compound over time. And if your follistatin levels are slowly increasing over time, or you have this anti-myostatin effect over time, this is where the gains are coming from. So I would rather look into YK-11 as a follistatin secretagogue, just like testosterone, nandrolone, dianabol, and trenbolone are known to increase follistatin levels. I have studies for that. We'll address that a little bit later on. And if you look into it like that, it's like a background compound that you would run alongside your regular stack. Just let the YK-11 at 2 servings per day, or 1 serving if it's injectable, do its job. I don't expect localized effects. I don't expect central nervous system increases, right? Well, like as with Anadrol or Superdrol, you take it and you're stronger an hour later, right? That's the non-genomic responses working on the central nervous system, or the, what is it? The Dr. Dean always says that the calcium ions. I'm not familiar with those terminologies, right? These guys actually went to school for this shit, but I didn't. So I read the studies and I go by anecdotal experience. But from what I can tell, YK-11 doesn't have an immediate effect. The neurotoxicity and changes in the hippocampus changed me. Yeah, so feel free to purchase those studies, right? The citations are down below. I did not read those, but all steroids are neurotoxic. I'd say it, but all steroids are neurotoxic. The only one that's less neurotoxic is testosterone because it aromatizes into estradiol. And then again, if you combine testosterone with primobolan, or testosterone with mastrone, or testosterone with medical aromatase inhibitors, again, maybe some of the neurotoxicity from YK-11 is actually stemming from its aromatase inhibiting effects in the brain, which again, I couldn't pinpoint from the abstracts of the studies which were available. Then you might still get neurotoxic effects. So, can you take enough cerebrolysine or Salank or Semax or low-dose SSRI to increase brain-derived neurotropic factor and offset that effect? Besides neurotoxicity, it also increases oxidative stress, which can cause systemic organ damage. So there's no free rides, dude. There's no free rides. And I took many a steroid in my life, and I don't seem that cognitively impaired. Maybe a little bit, right? I do make dumb decisions, but not as bad as alcoholics. Not as bad. Omar, do you plan to try injectable YK-11? Yeah, so we already addressed that in the video. Let's see. I tried it when I was just TRT for giggles. All right. TRT is now just a fun thing you do over the weekend. Strength went up, got leaner, a little angrier and aggressive. I did not get that at all, man. Comparable to VOR, in my opinion, 20 milligrams daily. So yeah, basically what we discussed just now, right? Nandrolone never made me aggressive. Trebolone never made me aggressive. YK-11 didn't make me aggressive. And they're all progestogenic 19-nors. And then you have trenbolone, which is also progestogenic 19-nor. Or maybe YK-11 is not progestogenic, but it's a 19-nor testosterone similar compound. And then you have trenbolone on the other side. So you have, let's say, 3 19-nors that are where you feel good on. And then trenbolone and what, chick drops? Is that also a 19-nor? I think so. Let me Google that, or let me Wikipedia that real quick. Yeah, that's also a 19-nor. So mibelarone is a dimethyl nor testosterone. 7-alpha dimethyl 19-nor testosterone. Yeah, so that's also, so mibelarone, check drops, and trenbolone parabolan are on the aggressive sides of the 19-nors, and then YK-11, in my opinion, trebolone and nandrolone are on the passive, happy-go-lucky, feeling good side. So I did not experience any increased aggression. Yeah, maybe you were on Anavar or maybe on Winstrol. Again, it's the gray area peptide websites. You never really know what you get, right? But comparing the joint dryness of YK-11 to Winstrol, I mean, Winstrol wins that battle hands down. If you take 30 milligrams of oral Winstrol, You literally feel like glass, dude. You feel horrible after a couple of weeks. Ozark. Steve, I can download the full publication through my subscription and email it to you if you'd like. Yes, please. Please do that. Please, please, please. That's always highly appreciated. I don't have those credentials. I don't always feel want to ask people with those credentials, but if you have them, dude, download it and email it to me. I would love to read these studies. Same as the Sobolevsky study where he went to do the doping analysis. Again, so the Sobolevsky study and those two hippocampal neurotoxicity studies, if you can email me those, you get you get free blowjobs for life, but not for me in the holodeck or something. But yeah, I would highly appreciate that, man. Any pip with YK-11, injectable YK-11? I have no idea because I haven't tried it, but I haven't really seen that reported. But I'll let you know what's going on. You're wearing the wrong shirt. Well, it's not the Vigorous Q&A, so we're wearing this black shirt. And again, I did gynecomastia surgery, so you can see here all this padding that I have because I'm wearing a fucking garment, compression garment. Right? So if I pull this down, uh, it looks terrible. I'll make a separate video about it. Let's see. A lot of questions that should go to the Vigorous Q&A, so I'm just going to stick to the YK-11 stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Hard for crypto, Vigorous Steve. I tried 50 milligrams YK-11. It made me feel like I was going hypo after 10 to 15 meals. Yeah, so when I read about the Follastatin protocols, it does say that you can go hypo while using Follistatin injectable versions, whether that's 288, 315, or 355 versions, which again splices into 288. So yeah, they can make you go hypo. So maybe in your case you went hypo, but I was on a ketogenic diet and I was eating a buttload of fat, and in that case your glucose levels and your blood glucose levels are very very stable. So I did not notice any improvement of insulin sensitivity on the YK-11, but again I was in the off season eating copious amounts of food. So fingers crossed, maybe I'll get the same effect as you did when I run YK-11 in a caloric deficit again, because it's time to diet a little bit. I mean, look at his face. Only a mother could love that. Item in the lower back is, well, also very appalling. So we're definitely going to have to make sure that I diet a little bit of chunk off that I acquired in New Zealand. And now that I'm completely sedentary, just doing a little bit of fasted cardio, which isn't even intense. I'm recovering from the gyno surgery. But yeah, I might experience that as well, but I'll report to you guys once that experiment is over. The molecule in that picture, I think H atoms are assumed. Basically, each angle is a carbon, and there is an H atom attached to the carbon implied. I think it is labeled for clarity in Nandrolone. Oh, really? No. Is that so? Let's see if what is the difference in testosterone has 19 carbon atoms and 28 hydrogen atoms, and Nandrolone has 16 carbon atoms and 26 hydrogen atoms. Well, okay, so I look like a fool. Really? Man, I should take some chemical engineering classes. Well, that's what you get when you do it live. You make mistakes. Let's see. Joel, what's up, buddy? All the other influencers and fitness gurus be repeating Steve word for word. Yeah, it happens quite a bit. I always laugh. I always laugh. Oh, I know who they are. And you guys can recognize them easy also. All right, so the rest is just, let's see. Benjamin asks, how many days do you start feeling YK-11? Yeah, it's not really something you feel. I think after 2 weeks, I noticed a difference, but it's very subtle, and then it seems to compound and get more and more and more over time. But again, I was running under compounds, so how much of that effect? But I would say that the unique feeling in skeletal muscle that I got, I think around week 2, and then it just progressively increased to week 7, and then I finished it off with a bang by injecting Follistatin 344. I mean, it was like everything that I experienced for the 5 weeks leading up to that in a single serving during the workout. That was way more potent. So I would say that Follistatin 344, yeah, that's way more potent than oral YK-11 when it comes to that unique feeling. But regarding the accrual of muscle mass, I'm not sure because I only took one shot. My pants were gigantic, or my legs were gigantic after that workout, though. Yeah, you have juice voice. Well, I take juice, buddy. What do you expect? Let's see. What else did I want to discuss? So you can see in this study, this is a Nandrolone study where you see that um, testosterone by itself compared to sham. So that's this is like a surgery model. So they in all groups, the rats had surgery. The sham model, they just had surgery. In the vehicle model, they had surgery plus propylene glycol, I believe, that they used in the study. And then in the testosterone and testosterone plus nandrolone studies, they obviously underwent surgery, had the vehicle propylene glycol with testosterone or testosterone and nandrolone suspended in it. And the testosterone group, myostatin levels went up, but let's see, testosterone levels also went up. Follistatin levels also went up. And in the testosterone plus nandrolone group, you see that myostatin goes up and follistatin levels also go up, but less than the testosterone by itself group. So also when you see that the vehicle in the follistatin group, right, the propylene glycol increased follistatin levels a lot more. So maybe propylene glycol is the best way to increase your follistatin levels. You probably also get tremendous systemic inflammation and necrotic tissue at the site of administration. So I would not go that route. But you see here that myostatin and follistatin levels comparing testosterone or testosterone plus nandrolone, that testosterone wins. Again, you would have to do a little bit more research into the study because, again, it's an animal model and I didn't really look much into it. Here's another study. This is, I think, methandienone, so that's dianabol, where they compare follistatin concentrations, that's FLST, concentrations compared to the control and training, and dianabol or dianabol plus training. You see a change in follistatin levels. So weirdly enough, the control group had higher follistatin levels. Then training brings that down, even though most of the scientific evidence shows that exercise reduces myostatin levels and increases follistatin levels. That's in human subjects. This is in animals. And then dianabol without training increased follistatin levels, but dianabol plus training reduced follistatin levels again. So again, it's an interesting study to read. I'll link that citation down below. And then we have this study, which is comparing testosterone to trenbolone, where you see that in the testosterone groups, that's, let's see, is TABC. So C is orchirectomy and testosterone, and D is orchirectomy and trenbolone. Orchirectomy means the removal of the sexual organs. Great. So basically, in the last two columns of all of these graphs, you see that follistatin messenger RNA in the testosterone group is a little bit less than in the trenbolone group. So trenbolone increases follistatin messenger RNA a little bit higher. Now, again, I went through all of this in the myostatin deep dive video, where I said that strenuous resistant training reduces myostatin levels and increases follistatin levels in humans. prolonged fasting increases circulating follistatin levels, but no change in myostatin levels. So if you want the maximum follistatin levels, you need to inject YK-11 and fast, which sucks, obviously. Sleep regulates circulating follistatin levels. Vitamin D and some of its metabolites reduces myostatin levels. Epicatechin reduces myostatin levels and increases follistatin levels. Then S-allyl cysteine found in garlic reduces myostatin levels, but that's only in animal models. Then let's fast forward a little bit. Leucine, hydroxymethylbutyrate, or beta-hydroxymethyl, what was it? Beta-hydroxy-beta-methylbutyrate, free acids, and creatine monohydrate inhibit myostatin-induced muscular atrophy and induces estrogen 1 normalization. But I believe that's only in the context of immobilization, at least in the animal models. Androgen sufficiency modulates myostatin and follistatin levels and prevents sarcopenia. Oh, that was in the context of immobilization. This was just animal models. And then you have all these funky inhibitors that these activin inhibitors that nobody can take. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you see here YK-11 increases follistatin levels. Now, if I did a little bit more research, I would have included testosterone, trenbolone, and, well, Nandrolone and Dalbo to a certain extent. But this was a myostatin deep dive, not a follistatin deep dive. So I think it's only fair to increase or to make a follistatin deep dive in the future when I have some more experience with increasing my follistatin levels. And here is the anabolic tier list for the oral steroids. Here you see that YK-11, well, the picture is not very clear. You see here that YK-11 is to be determined. And based on my experience so far, I would put it in B tier. So that's 2 tiers above Superdrol. Superdrol's D tier, right? Because you can only run it for 2 weeks. And it just makes you feel toxic as shit. But it also works very, very well for those 2 weeks that you're using it. But YK-11 you can run for longer periods of time. It doesn't really seem to potentiate the terrible toxicity, or you don't feel toxic while using it. You can still eat. Your liver enzymes don't really change. That's in my blood work and what I saw on other people's blood work when I was scrolling through the anecdotal reports. Now, YK-11 from a cosmetic appearance and the change perspective is not as pronounced as Anavar, Winstrol, or Anadrol, or even Superdrol. But since you can run it for longer periods of time and you can get quite noticeable results from it over time, I would say that it's B tier. Again, it could be A tier, but the joint pain, well, it's not as bad as Winstrol. But yeah, joint pain is something you have to deal with. And I have no idea how you would look from a cosmetic perspective in a contest prep scenario, because I haven't talked to anybody that ran YK-11 during contest prep or when they were absolutely diced. So I'll try to get a lot leaner than I did last time and then run YK-11 to see how it compares to Superdrol and Winstrol from a cosmetic perspective and then draw my final conclusions. But for now, I would say that it's kind of in B tier. All right, let's see if we need to discuss anything else. Took YK-11 30 milligrams per day. Now I have hair loss and permanent memory and hard to find words. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe you increase your oxidative stress and need to clean out and detoxify. Memory problems. Okay, maybe it would be wise for you to read that study about the hippocampal changes. Let's see. Hossa QWERTY, stacking YK-11 with test, Masteron, Anavar, growth hormone during summer to look shredded and full, or better take YK-11 during a bulk. I think it's beneficial during both contexts. Personally, I would rather use it during a bulk, at the end of a bulk, right, when you're trying to break through a strength plateau, because if you're increasing follistatin levels, well, you might as well have as much nutrients as possible there, because without nutrients, you're not going to grow that much. And if you're in a caloric deficit, then, well, why take a not so potent anabolic itself to increase follistatin levels when follistatin kind of needs nutrients to grow the muscle tissue, because you might get additional fat loss out of it, but that's not something that I generally see anecdotally from running YK-11. So a lot more experiments need to take place. Unfortunately, the people that generally take YK-11 are not so knowledgeable, not so experienced. And again, I kind of shit on the SARMs for the last couple of years because, well, Austrian LGD and all those compounds, they didn't really give me better results than real anabolic androgenic steroids, which are more studied. But this seems to be a little bit more promising because, again, the clear follistatin increases, which you see in the scientific evidence. So let me overlay that real quick, and then we're going to throw in the towel. Where is it? Is it this one? No. Well, I already kind of highlighted that in the. Oh, here it is. So here you see that follistatin in the, well, again, 350 milligram group, 350 milligrams per kilograms. So that's well beyond the realm of possibilities when you dose your YK-11. You see our baseline follistatin levels are about, in this animal model, it was what, 19 nanograms per milliliter. And then after 350 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, it's, let's say, 21. And then 700 milligrams, it's, let's say, 21 and a half. So that's an increase from 10 to 13, between 10 to 13%, maybe 15% if you're a little bit more generous. And let's see, what was it, this study? Yeah, it was the DHT study, right? No, no. Hmm. So many studies that I went through. Or this one, this one. Yeah. Follistatin increased comparing 2 days to 4 days in the YK-11 group. After 2 days, follistatin increased. Wait, this is intercellularly, so not in serum. Intercellularly increased about 500%, and then after 4 days, it increased about, what was it, 800% from this baseline to there. So that's quite a big increase. Now this is comparing with flutamide, so that we're not going to go into that. But if you compare, day 2 to day 4 in figure 3A, you see a clear increase. Now, how much of that plays out into the real world, I guess we'll never know. So experimentation is warranted. I do think it has its benefits here and there, but yeah, it would be nice to have access to some more research, which at this point in time, there's very little. That's why I said it's basically like toilet paper, right? One-ply toilet paper, scientific evidence. If you're careful enough, you might be able to wipe your asshole with it. But if you're too vigorous, then, well, you're going to go straight through, and then you touch things you don't want to be touching. Last one from Randy. I read the study on neurotoxic on hippocampus, and I do take coenzyme Q10 and vitamin C to try and combat it. Okay. So yeah, it's probably, the neurotoxicity is probably potentiated by oxidative stress, right? Which is very common with steroids. This is why I mentioned that in the video itself. You need to be on a boatload of antioxidants. Case Aarons. All right. Final guest appearance before we close it off. Steve, I took YK-11 and it ruined my face. What do I do? Well, you ask your wife to sit on it, and then you get like a moisturizing effect. I mean, that's what happened to me. You get like a moisturizing effect. It's a little bit greasy though, but then it's less bad than before, right? So if you look a little bit dry and look a little bit aged, just ask the wife to sit on it and rock back and forth vigorously, and then everything will be okay, right? Sticking out the tongue or using your nose. That yeah, or you can wear a mask, but those days are over, man. Yeah, to make it enjoyable for her as well, right? And it's not only about you, where you need to moisturize your face. Then, well, you kill 5 birds with one stone, right? Excellent advice. Thank you, Sensei. My pleasure. All right, guys, let's wrap it up there. 1 hour, 15 minutes. Let me know if you like these live discussions of the deep dives. Again, it's not as slick, not as high production value as the real deep dives, but this allows me to make some extra content and pump out some additional stuff for you guys. So let me know down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like and stay tuned for a follow-up experiment. I'm so ready to start making some gains because, again, now, fuck, you see already getting soft and pudgy. A couple weeks out of the gym, it's not a pretty sight. But hey, after the gynecomastia surgery is all nice and done and healed, then when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you guys are going to see some serious shit. All right, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you in 2 days for the Vigorous Q&A, and I'll answer all of the questions which are not related to YK-11. All right, peace out.